Greg and Mike.
3, 2, 1. And there's that. There he goes.
Read all about it. Guess who's in the South this week? Guess who's in Kentucky? The thinking man's Tennessee.
I would say that's what I'm going to talk about. I don't know why I said that's what I'm going to talk about. Kentucky, I consider the North-South. That's a phrase only I use.
Well, I'd call Missouri that too, right?
I don't know. You know, in the drive across country, I think I mentioned this last week, but I've done it so many times. I think I did mention this, but I'll never, ever conceptually accept that almost all of Nebraska is north of Colorado, or a lot of it.
Oh, like, no kidding.
In my mind, that's wrong. There's no way.
Right.
But let's see. You wanted to talk about Missouri?
Well, Missouri was famously
because of the Civil War.
During the Civil War, they were very split. That was where Jesse James was, and it was. I read a book about him, and it was all marauding gangs, and some were Confederate, and some were Union, and each town, like half the town, was one way or the other, and people would go burn each other's fucking barns down, and it was bedlam, not medlum. Even worse than bedlam.
Well, you in Kentucky share a southern. It's just it continues across. Missouri and Kentucky basically are on the exact same latitude. Their southern border. It's a straight line across. Goes right above Nashville and right under Branson.
Branson, yeah.
Branson's further south than you are right now.
Yeah.
But like, there's Nebraska is fully above Kentucky.
Nebraska's above Kentucky. Yeah,
Nebraska's above a bunch of Chicago. That's another thing. Chicago is further north than Colorado. That's weird.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's the mountains. I mean, it's the elevation in Colorado. It's not the latitude.
Yeah. And then there's other things, and some people, like nerds, I guess like me, get very annoyed that there's one part of Florida that is only one time zone away from one part of Oregon.
What?
That's a weird one.
Really?
That's a very weird one. Yeah.
No, that's not possible. I won't believe that. Nope.
No.
I won't believe
Western Florida in the Panhandle is in Central, and then part of this Oregon is in Mountain.
Wow.
Yep.
Damn. Yeah, I'm in so many time zones. I am in, I did 4 days in New York, now 3 days in Kentucky, and then I'll do 4 days in Austin, and then I'll do 3 days in Colorado, and then I come home for 2 days, and then I go to Boston, Maine, back to Austin, and home again.
Olivia should go see you in Boston.
Oh, yeah, you got to be 21.
Well, as we know, she has her fake ID, although her fake ID is now too old. It says she's like in her mid-20s.
That's hilarious.
She's got to re-rack it.
So, by the way, we apologize. There was no video last week because my computer, I record the Zoom calls, and I don't know if my Wi-Fi was bad, but it just crashed as soon as we finished, and we had no remaining video.
Yeah, we looked at each other the whole time, and it definitely said it recorded. But how weird is this? So, as good as I am, I'm so good about answering the people on YouTube now. And when I'm answering, like, there were a couple of references that were vague. I'm like, what are they talking about? It's like came here to see your mugs, and now they're not here. Like, it's just weird. I'm like, what? And then I slowly realized there was no video.
Oh, you didn't know before that? Oh, yeah. Right. I guess you wouldn't have known. Huh. Okay.
I mean, I saw the text back and forth, but then like Denver was going to help you somehow get the video.
So, look, I love the South. People are very nice, but they're fucking dumb. So I go down to the front desk and I'm like, you guys have coffee? And she's like, well, we have a coffee machine, but they forgot to get milk. And I go, well, is there a coffee place nearby? And I'm like in downtown Louisville. And they go, she thinks about for like a minute. Well, I don't know. And then she goes, well, there's a Marriott right around the corner. Well, it's not right around the corner. It's 3 blocks down. And I get there, and they have no coffee. There's no fucking coffee there. And now I'm running late for taping this show. And I come back, and I go, there's no. I go, what? And she goes, well, you can use the coffee machine. There's just no milk. So I walk over, and it's in the little eating area, and they've got a refrigerator, a mini fridge, and it's got those Starbucks bottled mocha coffees. So I grab one of those. I make a black coffee. I open up the Starbucks. I pour in a big glug, and then I hid that behind the coffee machine, and I just went to my room. Fuck them.
Why didn't you take it?
Because there was a security guard looking right at me.
You go to the Marriott, like, well, listen, we got milk, but you go to the Comfort Inn for the coffee.
Oh, my God. So I got to thank you. I got my new Mustang. If people didn't hear last week's episode, I bought my Mustang, and you suggested, because my wife has a broken foot, you said take her on a drive up in Malibu, and you sent me a map in an email, and I took this drive. I got to tell you something. You forget how beautiful. We live in one of the most beautiful places in the world.
I've been up since you went. I went back with the scooter and went up a new way that's even closer. I got to tell you about. It's like, am I in Durango, Colorado? It's crazy.
Yeah, you go up past Pepperdine, and then you take a right up to Mulholland, and then you just zip around up there. And and it also, with the performance sports car, it's all zigzagging roads, serpentining, and there was motorcycles flying through like crazy. Yep. And so you just went alone on your scooter up there?
Yeah, on a weekday, which makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
And then went all the way up. And listen, it's a scooter, but it's still really fun going up that. And it's pretty like I forget that. Peak is probably 3,600 feet or whatever, which, of course doesn't sound like that much. But when you're talking vertical, Jackson Hole is the biggest vertical ski mountain, which is from the base to the top. And that's 4,000. That's bigger than anything, Vail, anything. So that's what these basically are, is from the ocean up. Like they are considerable mountains.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the biggest peak in the range that runs from Santa Barbara
Saddle Peak.
Yeah, Saddle Peak. It's the peak of Saddle Peak, whatever. Anyway,
no, they're amazing up there.
What's going on? You watching this convention?
Yeah, okay. So all right. So during the convention, my dad, all right, this is funny. So my dad is like super liberal guy. I really need to preface this. So, super liberal guy. I mean, born in Harlem, grew up dirt poor, both parents immigrants, grew up dirt poor and then the Bronx. And he's always been championing causes. And he's going in Florida. He's volunteered to go out and be one of the monitors because he thinks he's going to be up against Republican monitors who are scaring away Democratic voters.
Okay.
So anyway, he writes, I have been watching the Democratic convention. I am for the Democrats, obviously, but I want to get your opinion on something that I'm feeling. The convention is too black. Okay? They want to attract independents and non-MAGA Republicans. They are not going to do it, in my opinion. What do you think? Right?
This is your dad.
Yeah. So, all right, I want to say a couple things. So, meanwhile, when I then started to watch it with that lens, it was crazy diverse. And listen, you and I, we have an audience in everything we do. We're judging ourselves like on how we're telling a story, how we're telling a joke, how we're presenting. My whole life has been basically built on manipulating people to like me more so than the average person, and then all that stuff. So I always know, like, you can't bury the lead. Like, I'm always wondering how it will be taken. And to a fault, I almost put that above, like, expressing exactly what I'm feeling. You know what I mean? Like, I'm thinking so much about
style over substance.
Yeah, and so, like, it's like, if, like, it got me thinking, what was the goal? Because if you wanted to infuriate these Trump supporters and Trump Nation and these stupid Republicans, in my opinion, the really backwards prejudice ones, boy, this was the way to do it. Like, it was the most diverse party, like a just shameless celebration of.
And now when you start bringing out D.L. Hughley, it's like, what's going on? Where's?
Oh no! So I told, and also, by the way, I told Dickie about that, and he goes, I respectfully disagree, and he's like, it's more about being forward-looking, energy, joy, all that. And I go, yes, you can do that also without it. And so anyway, Dickie then goes at one point. So we're talking about it, and he goes, you know, Beyonce was rumored to come out, right? And anyway, then he goes, the Central Park 5 just came out, and I start dying laughing because that's a great joke. Like, how could you get any more, like, boy, they really went very minority in this. And then he writes something that made me laugh even harder. I'm not joking, because they did. No. And you want to know who introduced them?
Who?
Al Sharpton.
No.
I mean, Al Sharpton introduced the Central Park 5.
Oh my God.
This is, by the way, 24 hours. This is the next day after my dad brought up that point. But anyway, going back to my dad, now going full circle, back to my what my dad wrote. Ready? He goes, they're not going to do it, in my opinion. If, you know, it's too black and all this. So I write to him, I agree and all that. Blah, blah. Next text from my dad. This white lady singing is terrible. Bring back the black entertainers.
That's hilarious. Oh my God. He's probably talking about Pink. Pink's daughter, God bless her, sweet little girl, probably had a rough life. Awful singer. Just awful. I thought Oprah was ridiculous. She was a caricature of herself. I didn't need each person telling me their life story. Oprah, I know your fucking life story. And not every single person has to bring up the fact that Donald Trump called soldiers losers. Like, literally 9 people in a row used the same. Can we get a showrunner to go through people's speeches and say this is extremely redundant?
Oh, so much. And even in Kamala's thing, I'm like, yes, no, we know the laundry list of the awful things Trump has done. And then, like, occasionally someone would hit the note. And listen, maybe I'm wrong. Oh, getting back to the black thing, I was wondering, this had to be calculated. And maybe it was, if we can just mobilize the black vote, we don't care about independence. That number would just absolutely wash out any gain from independence or fence sitting undecided. So I can't even understand an undecided, but like maybe that was their game, you know, like it was so obvious. And by the way, at one point, because now my dad's in my ear, and I'm like, at one point I'm like, I swear to God, this is true. And I was like, oh wait, there was a cutaway. I'm like, oh wait, there was a white guy. Oh wait, he had Down syndrome. Swear to God that happened. Not kidding. That happened last night. Oh, but anyway, Kamala going on. And I was like, but occasionally this note was struck. And if I had a hand in organizing this, I would have really leaned into this note, which was speaking to Trump supporters who might be watching this because they're curious, and not curious to hate, but curious about what's being said. I think Obama said it at one point, but anyway, it was like, listen, I understand your frustrations. That's why you're voting for him. And things aren't good. Like, I'm like, yes, lean into that.
Yeah.
Like, lean into that. You get it. You get the problems that people have with the Democratic Party.
Yep. All right. Well, listen, I want to move on, as a lot of our listeners just have. So my
Why?
special
We're criticizing the left, isn't that
my
a good
special
thing?
comes out in 2 days, the 27th of August, and I am imploring you, as fans of this show, as supporters of me on some level over the years, I'm counting on you now. I need to get a big hit on the first day. I need you to go to my this YouTube page that you're watching it on, or just Greg Fitzsimmons Comedy, and watch it, comment, like it, tell your friends. I'm going to be doing a lot of podcasts, but it's you guys, the base, that I need to watch. I'm really proud of it. I spent a fucking ton of money. I don't know what happened. I don't know when I lost control of the checkbook, but
Tuesday?
I won't make any of the money back. I'll make very little of the money back, but I'm doing it, and I'm doing it on YouTube because I want everybody to see it. So get out and do it.
Tuesday
the 27th. There'll be a link.
I have 2 Google accounts because I occasionally answer with the wrong one. That Kiwis one. I am going to watch it on both.
I love it. And leave a comment. Here's what I'd like you to do. Okay. Leave a comment, and in the comment say, I know you from Sunday Papers. I want the hashtag to be, because it's called You Know Me. And so I want you to say, I know you from Joe Rogan Experience, from Mark Maron, whatever. Put it in there, and that'll and then it's all about the algorithm. Anyway, I'm tired of talking. So I get to New York. I flew to New York this week to do. This is the press junket now. It used to be that you would go to New York and you would do Letterman and you would do Good Morning America. Like, that's what A-listers would do. Now, the podcasts dwarf broadcasts by tenfold. And I am lucky enough to have come up in the podcast world where a lot of people are having me on their podcasts. So I'm just so fucking grateful. Except, you're insecure and you're like, oh God, am I going to show up? And people are like, do I really want him on? You get self-conscious. And so the first night I get there, you ever heard of Legion of Skanks?
I've heard of it.
It's like Jay Oakerson and Louie Gomez.
Yeah.
And Dave Smith. And so
they're really funny.
They're really funny. And they're so dark that they are so out there that just to appease their audience, because you're in a comedy club, you start saying shit that you would never say. And then afterwards you're like, please, nobody cut that up and put it on the internet. And so I walk in. And I texted Jay on my way from the airport saying, hey, just to let you know, I landed. I'm probably coming straight from the airport because I don't have time to go to the hotel. I'll see you at 8. And then I get a text. And then you ever get the reply text and it's just bubbles for a long time?
Yeah. So
I got the bubble float. And then finally it said, yes, sir. One word, yes, sir. And I was like, that's odd. And then I get to the comedy club. And I'm backstage, and then the producer goes, okay, Bonnie McFarlane was there as well. And they usually only have one guest. And they go, well, we don't have an extra set of headphones. So we only, and I went, fucking Jay forgot to, Jay asked me to do the show. And he didn't tell them. I sat down, and the first words out of my mouth was, Jay, you stoner motherfucker, you forgot I was on the show. And they all started cracking up, and they started reading me the texts from an hour before when I had texted him from the airport. He's like, dude, total whiff. I fucked up. I had booked Fitzsimmons. I forgot to tell you. And so that clip is actually on their. They posted it on all their social media.
That's a good organic moment.
Yeah, it was very funny. And then I did David Cross's podcast, which was really cool.
How's he doing?
He's good. He hates Venice, so we got into it a little bit about Venice Beach. Some people really hate Venice Beach. It's become such a lightning rod for people. Like, everybody thinks they know what Venice is. Venice has a lot of levels and components and sections. Like, there's the tourism section. There's the surfing community. There's the artists. There's a lot of galleries. There's performance space. There's theaters. There's gangs. There's there's a lot of homeless.
Tons
I'll
of
give
sports.
you that. Yeah, paddle tennis, volleyball,
Yeah.
Skateboard park, world-class skateboard park. Anyway, and different kinds of people. It's very diverse. But everybody thinks it's either just like a row of fucking tents, or they think it's a bunch of like yuppie douchebags on Abercrombie. But there's a lot more to it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, but he was great. We had a lot of laughs. I did Jim Norton's show.
Nice.
With Sam. I did Ron Bennington. You ever heard of Ron Bennington? He's got a big show on Sirius XM. And he interviewed me, and I had just taken Kevin Meaney's daughter out to lunch. And it was a very emotional lunch. Like, we talked about Kevin a lot, and she's really still going through his, even though he died like 8 years ago, it's still, it hit her at the age of like 14. So she's still dealing with it. And so I get to the interview, and it's kind of like a life story interview where he was asking me about my childhood, and I was talking about Kevin when I was a kid. I knew him and how he mentored me, and then he was, in my wedding party and all that. And then I told this other story about being at the Montreal Comedy Festival and like getting my big break, and he was the first one there, and he hugged me. And as I said it, I started crying, and they had a crowd. There was like a studio at Sirius, and I'm fucking sitting there, and it was one of those cries. It wasn't like a quick, sorry. It was like a fucking, like a good 30-second, could not get my shit back together again. Oh my God! Which, whatever. It's probably fine.
It must have been very touching, though.
I hope so. I hope so. But it's just so funny when you're doing an interview with. He's a comedian, and it's supposed to be a comic thing. But I get very emotional. I always do thinking about Kevin.
I texted our good friend Jack the other day, and I said, "Do you remember when you and I were in high school, and maybe it was even a little later, maybe our 20s?" And your mom, all of a sudden, it was just the three of us in the kitchen. Your mom goes, I don't know what's going on with your father, but all of a sudden that guy's a crybaby. And, you know Jack's dad, and he's like a very stoic.
He's like
one
a
would
wasp.
say maybe even to a fault, unemotional. You know what I mean? Like he's a very kind of like father figure in the old wasp tradition. And he had like gotten to his 50s. She's like, I mean, he cries and she was like, I mean, he cries in movies now. He cries with this. So I said, I just simply set that up like that. And I go to Jack. I go, well, let me just tell you, I've fully arrived where your dad was. I don't know about you. And Jack's like, I sometimes all of a sudden start choking up in the car alone, depending on like what song comes on, like,
Yeah.
And I think, man, I don't know if it's a natural rhythm that happens, or is it all the years of kind of, pushing our emotions down? It would be very interesting to study what it is, but almost universally, I'm hearing the same thing.
Well, I think we're also going through a transition where our kids are moving out, and I feel like I held it down, from when they were born until college. It was like earn, keep it together, protect, discipline, and now they're gone, and it's almost like your shoulders drop and you can kind of feel a little more vulnerable again.
For me, it's I don't know if nostalgia is the right word, but for me, it's very much a really appreciating beautiful things, especially ones that meant a lot to me during my life, and so to me, there's a nostalgia part to it and an acceptance. Like, I think my mind is recognizing, okay, you're entering Act 3 now.
Yeah, when I was in New York, I saw Louie C.K. and I was in the back of the room. He didn't even know I was watching him, and he did this set, and he was talking about getting older and how his relationships mean so much more to him. And he goes, like, I've been telling the people that I truly love, I've been telling them I love you. So then I see him out front, and we're talking for a long time. We had we've known each other for many years, and we talked about each other's families and all that. And then I said, all right, man, I'll see you later. And I give him a hug, and he walks away. And he walks about 10 steps, and then he turns around, and he comes back, and he goes, hey, come here. And he gives me this big hug, and he goes, I love you. And I was like, wow. That was heavy.
Sometimes people aren't fully there, you know? I've found, like, all right, this literally happened last night with our friend Pete. I did one of those moments that Louie just did. So we were texting back and forth, and then it paused. It was almost like Louie. I turned around. Here was my text. Hey, love you, man. With my mom recently passing, I have so much more true empathy rather than sympathy for the passing of your folks. Sympathy only goes so far, I've learned. Anyway, as my dad says, they're firing at their lines now. And I know Mr. friend of ours, Jack Stead, is going through it a little bit too. It's a tough time, but also lots to be grateful for how long everyone's been around. Pete responds, yes, agree. It's like, dude, I just shut all momentum down and told you I loved you.
Not even a heart emoji. Not even a round of applause emoji. Just yes, agree.
There wasn't even a capital letter. Just yes. Not even a capital letter. Yes, agree.
Wow.
And then immediately, Peter has notifications silenced. I might have been blocked. I think he blocked me.
That's hilarious. Yeah, no, you do some heartfelt ones. Sometimes I'll get a voicemail from you. Yeah, I remember you called me when your TV show got picked up, and you left me a very long, loving message, and you were crying, telling me that you loved me, and then you were like, "All right, I'm a little drunk."
Did you hear my blinker on?
Yeah. All right.
Well, no, because I wouldn't be in this business if not for you. And you know, you just bring up the Kevin Meaney. I have a great memory of you taking me to Harvard Square to see him at whatever club is in Harvard Square.
Catch a Rising Star.
To see Kevin Meaney and to see, like, this was the first time I think maybe you were going as a comedian who was trying to get things off the ground, you know what I mean? And like went to see him, and he could not have been more supportive, and he destroyed. It was just he had like heat all over him. You know what I mean? Like he was just this red hot comic who couldn't have been higher up in my estimation, and he was just so supportive of you. And you guys told stories about your dad and how long he knew you, and it was really cool. Yeah,
I remember that night very well. I hadn't seen him since I was a kid, and he saw me, and he said, I literally hadn't seen me since I was probably 11. And he goes,
I didn't even put that together. I knew it was the first time.
He goes, because my dad called me, and he goes, you remember that waiter from Knollwood? He goes, he's a big comedian now. So my dad knew I was doing stand-up, and he goes, keep an eye out for him. And so we just showed up. I think it was just me and you. And, so this is 37 years ago. And we walk in, and he goes, Fitzsimmons. I was like, what?
Yeah.
And, the rest is history.
He was like Johnny Carson's favorite comic at that point. Like it was incredible.
Oh, yeah. He just had an HBO special, and he was just the guy that night and many others, I would put those sets against any comic I've ever seen in terms of making somebody double over where your stomach hurts and you can't breathe. And I'm not talking about a few people in the crowd. The entire crowd was laughing that hard. I don't know anybody that I've ever seen do that.
Well, you can go watch those Johnny Carsons and hopefully you find the right one, but Johnny Carson is doubled over laughing and can't believe how funny he is while he's performing on his show.
He's pounding his fist on his desk with his head down. Yeah. Crazy. All right, so let's get to our logo. Big thanks to Jane S., huge supporter, and she's made a bunch of logos for us. This is the zigzag one. I don't know why nobody ever thought of Sunday papers as cigarette papers.
I'm Zig, you're Zag.
Oh, yeah, there we go. J.R. Snyder with some down-home banjo playing for us this week.
Love the simplicity.
Love it. It was a perfect, short, punchy theme song. Looking for more? We got a bunch in. We definitely need more. Keep sending in the theme songs. Corrections this week. Rob Solier. We had a lot. I didn't even put them all in. I was a little off last week. Rob Solier said, Greg, congrats on making Mike look like an idiot like he said you would. Because with all the Fitzdog confidence you could muster, you declared the human character's name was Odie when in fact it was John. We're talking about Garfield, of course. The dog's name is Odie. Poor Mike, take it eesh.
Also, that I bought that. Here's the choices: Odie and John. Which one's the human? We're gonna go with Odie. That's what happened, and I went along with it.
Shane Mallett said Hemingway's 6-word story. I think this might have been from my podcast, actually. But somebody once...
No, I love this.
Somebody once challenged Hemingway, what is the shortest novel you can write? And he thought about it, and he said, For Sale, Baby... I said Baby...
Casket?
Baby, yeah, basket. But it's actually baby shoes. For Sale, baby shoes never worn. So I said the wrong one, and I got a lot of people correcting me. Somebody even went so far as to say it wasn't even Hemingway, that it was attributed to Hemingway, but it's believed that it was somebody else. This guy named Greg, nice name, gay guy. I'm sure you got it is a gay name. Bruce and Greg might be the two gayest names. Like when you think of like the cliched, stereotypical Greg.
I don't think so.
No? Okay, good. What do you think the gayest names are besides, obviously, Bruce?
Probably Fitzsimmons. You got the double tss.
Why Bruce, though? Bruce.
No, it's because that's...
Yeah.
Sibilance.
I'm sure you got a bunch of corrections for your incorrect math on 40% of 12, which I said was 3. So I won't mention that. I want to correct where later in the show you bragged about how correctly calculated 40%. What? Your correction doesn't make any sense. So yeah, 40% of 12 is what?
You're going to make me do that now?
Oh, I think it's 4.8. It's 4.8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
4.8. Because 12 times 40 is...
I can't wait. Keep going.
Is 480. So it's 4.8%. Okay.
Love it.
And then I'll leave off this last part. And then this was very funny. Carol goes a little bit more in depth about the Garfield thing. I'm not religious or anything, but Lord God Almighty, did you and Mike fuck up the Garfield comic strip? This is way better than the time you tried to figure out the number of days between Good Friday and Easter Sunday based on the third day he rose from the dead timeline. The owner of Garfield is John, and the dog is Odie. To hear the comic strip explain with the wrong names was funny enough, but then the way everything started was just the best. And then she actually transcribed the conversation. Mike says, You'll have to forgive me. Garfield's the cat, but I don't know the owner's name. Greg, Odie. Mike, you don't know that really, do you? Greg, yeah, it's Odie. Mike, pause. You're just going to make me a fool. I'm going to say Odie. Greg, it's Odie. Mike, so Odie, with complete blind trust, confidently proceeds to explain the entire comic strip with reversed characters. After Mike is done explaining all the panels, Greg says, I have no idea what that means. Then Mike stammers, I can't even guess what this is about. Then you guys confusingly try to interpret the entire thing. Laugh out loud. Love it. Carol.
All right. Well, we got Odie down below. We're doing number 9 in our top 10 countdown of Garfields.
Oh, here we go. Tour dates. I just added a bunch of new tour dates for the winter. So we've got Denver Comedy Works, August 29th through 31. We've got Austin at the Mothership, September 6th through 8th. Temecula, September 21st. Then I'll be off to Alaska, September 25 through 28. Then I'm coming to Tulsa, Tacoma, San Fran, Cleveland, Atlanta, Janesville, Wisconsin, Nyack, New York, Raleigh, North Carolina, Milwaukee, Vegas, Hollywood, Pittsburgh. Go to fitzdog.com. Get some tickets. Come out and see my new hour. Retire the old hour. Yeah. Support comes from Game Time.
Oh, let's talk about Game Time. You know it's our favorite. Come on now. Game Time picks. You got the super deal. You got, listen, one of the reasons I love it, I have to say this every time, is you get the full price that's stated all in. You don't have to do guesswork like the other resellers or whatever it is. You don't have to like guess that it's gonna be twice the price, which always burns you. One of the competitors being sued because of it.
Oh yeah.
Not Game Time. Not Game Time. We got the super deal, seat views before you buy, the lowest price guarantee. There's event cancellation protection, job loss protection. Let me call up Game Time right now, see what's going on. I love the Discover feature because you can go right to sports, you can go right to concerts. I like, well, here's Detroit. That's when I used it last, actually. We got Incubus, $31 tonight in Detroit.
It's about $30 more than I would pay to see Incubus.
Is it now? All right, hold on. Let me go here to Los Angeles.
Also, sports. We got football season coming up. We got baseball going into the home stretch. It's amazing how cheap some of these sports tickets are.
And I see all these acts. Well, by the way, here comes Billy Strings tonight at the Forum. What? $28 here in LA.
I know where you're going tonight.
Billy Strings is phenomenal. We got a lot of Dodgers tickets coming down the home stretch here. We got Black Tiger Sex Machine. You want to go see Black Tiger Sex Machine?
Who are they playing?
They're a band. $44. Who are they playing? Hey, your good friend Eric Griffin's playing.
No, where?
Yeah, Brea Improv, $38 if you want to go on Thursday.
Show. Eric is a great comic. Go check him out.
Eric's awesome. So take all the guesswork out of buying concert tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PAPERS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PAPERS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
All right, listen, also support for Sunday Papers comes from Mint Mobile. I love
Mint Mobile.
a great deal. Oh, my God.
Can't be any more simple.
It's like the amount of legwork it takes to find a decent deal right now for your phone is ridiculous, and I can't do it. I can't. And then you get the good deal, and it's never seemed, and it's never what you think you're getting. Look, $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, you can get Mint Mobile. I called them. Turns out it really is that easy. $15 a month. Longest part of the process was the time I spent on hold waiting to break up with my old provider. Which, by the way, I call Verizon and then I get put on hold. You're a phone company. This is what you do. If I'm on hold, you have failed at the core of what your business plan is. So go to mintmobile.com/papers. They're going to see that right now all 3-month plans are $15 a month, included the unlimited plan, high-speed data, unlimited talk, text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. That's what people wonder. But how's the quality? It's the best. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan. Bring your phone number along with your existing contacts. Find out how easy it is to switch to Mint Mobile and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/papers. That's mintmobile.com/papers. mintmobile.com/papers. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/papers. $40 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speeds slower, above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Can we get a crinkle?
It's 39 minutes in. Front page. Here we go.
There we go.
Extra! Extra! Read all about it! Extra!
A teacher's OnlyFans side hustle leads to resignation in a public battle. Before beginning to produce saucy videos in 2023, Miss Coppage was a high school English teacher in suburban St. Louis, Missouri, and struggling to make ends meet after her husband was laid off. I made $42,000 a year. Missouri is one of the lowest paying states in the country for teacher pay. She spotted a friend's page on OnlyFans, the subscription-based video hosting service primarily associated with adult sexual content, and she decided to give it a try. So at first, it was just like me and my husband. Just like boy, girl stuff, just me.
Shouldn't say boy, girl. Should say man, woman. I think that sounds a little better.
Definitely don't say man, girl.
Yes.
That's the one to avoid.
Yeah.
Woman, boy. That works for me.
Yeah.
But didn't show my face at all, she said of her early videos on the platform. This added $5,000 a month to her income. Despite this concern, she didn't see her OnlyFans career as being at odds with her work as a teacher. I wasn't doing anything illegal, she said.
No.
I'm there to teach reading and writing. Like, I'm not there to instill their morals. And then someone called and reported to the school. Even though her career as a teacher was cut short, she has embraced her life as an OnlyFans creator. Wait for it. I don't have any regrets, she said. And last year, she made $2 million on her OnlyFans.
Oh. And got to have sex every single day for 4 hours.
I think her account should be called Only Students.
Oh, that's who's watching?
That's her bread and butter.
No, that's the key. Because they say it's about finding your audience. Yeah, teach your audience. And then just let it slip that their teacher is now available to watch having sex. Oh my God! And
$2 million.
And she said it didn't affect her lessons. Charlie, please spell fellatio. And don't forget, everybody, I want you to finish up Chapter 3 of Jenna Jameson's memoir, How to Make Love Like a Porn Star, A Cautionary Tale. Actually, the name of her book.
$2 million. That's 47 years. Over 47 years of teaching at her salary. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah. A lot of parent-teacher conferences. Honey, you stay at home. I got this one. I got it. I haven't been showing up enough.
Can I video conference teacher? Would that be? Can we do that?
Yeah. Yeah, you're
perfect.
trying to get your kid to fuck up in school so that you get called into the teacher more often.
I'm concerned about my son again. I just don't think there's a lot of dangling prepositions.
He has
It's
an A,
very
Mr.
tricky.
Gibbons. He has an A. Yeah, but
All right,
All right,
here's
what's
another
this
story.
one?
Another story I found. I thought of you. This is a quote. I hired a friendship coach to help me with hard conversations. This is what she told me. So, we don't bat an eye when couples seek therapy, but what about friends? Like you and Dennis, Greg. It suggests using practical phrases like, I'm nervous telling you because the last thing I would want is for it to impact our friendship. And these tender phrases let someone know how you feel about the conflict and how well you have thought it through before approaching them.
Dennis, I'm nervous about telling you about your temper because it hurts my feelings because I'm afraid your wedge will hurt me physically. That's what I'm nervous about.
I was also warned about the temptation to use therapy talk when having hard conversations with friends. Like, I thought about it and I just don't have the capacity. And what happens is we speak formally, but that's not congruent with the context of your friendship. She emphasized the using language that incorporates your feelings. Here's another one, like, I'm so torn up about it. If you say something like that, it feels more human and relates more to the context of your friendship. This is the one I would use. I don't have the capacity to tell you that I'm nervous to tell you this. And then I would just blurt it out.
Dennis, I don't have the capacity to tell you that that when you throw a putter at a squirrel, it brings up trauma from when you threw a putter at a crow.
I am over capacity, you fuck.
Should we call Dennis and I'll try some of these out?
I think we don't want to interrupt him. He's at his fantasy football draft.
Oh, right. Okay.
You know
we'll
what
call
high
him.
pressure situation
we'll call him
that
next
is?
week. Yeah.
I don't think he has capacity to take your call right now.
Yeah, we don't want to ruin his day.
All right, I love this story. I love this headline too.
I love the transition.
The average person knows if their day has been ruined by 8:36 a.m. That's the headline. Yeah, but you know people are having it rough when they scream about 8:36 instead of, I don't know, 8:30 or even 8:35. I have been dealing with this crap since 8:36 in the a.m.
Yeah, right.
The poll of 2,000 Americans also found that the average person endures 4 bad days per month, totaling a staggering 48 days or a month and a half of bad days annually.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Yeah, one respondent in the study said, they woke me up with this fucking questionnaire at 9:02 this morning.
Not 8:36?
No, not 8. It's 9:02. We moved on. Okay. All right. So I'm going to quiz you. They have the top 5 morning mishaps that signal an impending bad day. Let me find it. There's also a big list of the top 20 causes of bad days. It's a little redundant. They're covered in these 5. Here we go.
All right.
What
top
do you think?
Five.
Top
I'm going to
5
say one
morning
is
mishaps.
not having milk for your coffee.
No, or being in that hotel that has no milk.
I would say hitting on your spouse and them shutting you down.
Wow, that's a big one, man. These are minor.
Okay. I would say...
let's see if you can get one.
Okay, how about didn't sleep well?
Yes, that's it's 2. I don't know if this is in order, but 31%.
I would say the water in the shower is not hot.
Nope.
I would say baby crying.
Nope.
I would say stubbed your toe.
2 are similar. Waking up feeling sick, and then another one is waking up with a headache.
Oh.
I know, they're weird. Sleeping poorly is another one. Then there's things once you've got going that happen that can mess up your day.
Traffic.
That's a great one. And no, it's before that.
Parking ticket.
Losing keys.
Oh, yeah.
And then forgetting your phone at home.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
Let me see if the top 20 has anything interesting. Running out of toilet paper. That jumps out to me. Forgetting your wallet.
Well, especially, it's one thing if you run out of toilet paper before you begin a bowel movement. But once you've finished and then you got to reach for it, what are your options?
Yeah. You got to just go with the hand and re-shower.
Is that what you would do?
No.
Oh.
Okay, here we go. You ready? No, I'd use my sock. This is interesting. Number 12 on the top 20 causes of bad days. Waking up on the, quote, wrong side of the bed. But like...
Isn't that what the description of being in a bad mood is? Yeah.
Yeah. So in other words, are they meaning literally? Like, how did I get over... How am I on top of my spouse? Isn't that a good start to a day?
Yeah, right. The wrong side of the bed. I wonder where that phrase comes from. There must be some historical thing that refers to? Waking up on the wrong side of the bed.
Maybe you were the top bunk and you fell off.
Somebody write in with the answer to that. What is the background of waking up on the wrong side of the bed? All right, Portland man.
Wait, here's 17 and 18. 17 running out of coffee, Greg.
There we go.
18 spilling my coffee.
Mm-hmm.
How about that? And then, okay, we're good.
Here's a guy that woke up on the wrong side of the bed. A Portland man won the lottery at a local bar and was followed home by a patron who stabbed him 15 times with a pocket knife for the winnings late. So first of all, I need a reality show about this bar. The worst bar in America, the saddest place in America. The victim met the suspect while playing the lottery machines at Montana's bar in the city Saturday night after winning $2,000. Called it a night, went home. Suspect was caught on surveillance cameras following the victim home, sneaking behind the victim until he got to the door, and then he demanded the money and stabbed him. So, first of all, a pocket knife? Did he corkscrew him in the shoulder? Did he pinch him with the tweezers or clip his toenails with the scissors? Did he get fucking mugged by a Boy Scout?
Yeah, what is going 15 times with a pocket? You know, the first date, the guy's like, "Well, dude, what are you doing? Like, that's annoying. Like, what are you pinching me?"
Yeah, right. Yeah, and it's one of those knives that, like, when you stab somebody, it accidentally folds itself up, and then you end up slicing the back of your own knuckles.
Yeah.
Here's a good one. I'm going to have to try to get through this because it's a long story, but Disney has backpedaled on its stance in a wrongful death suit filed by a widower whose wife died after having eaten at a restaurant in Disney World. So Disney is now saying it will waive arbitration that it argued the man agreed when he signed up for Disney Plus.
I don't think you need to say anymore. That's your whole story.
Yeah. So
what
basically,
bastards?
Yeah. So basically, they a bunch of corporate bullshit about how we strive to put humanity above considerations. But their initial reaction to this man whose wife, after they 3 times said to the server, "There's no problems with food allergies here, right? She has food allergies." And they said they were being accommodated, and then she went into a severe allergic reaction and died. And so, and it was
at Raglan Road Irish Pub and Restaurant in Disney World. I'm thinking it might have just been the Irish food.
That's true. That's true.
Could have been just that.
Yeah, there's a clause when you walk into an Irish restaurant. It says, "No shirt, no shoes, no suing,
no taste."
No taste. And but basically they said that because this person had opted in on their Apple Plus subscription, that there was something in that, and you know the million words that you don't read when you sign, it says that you will settle with arbitration instead of being able to sue. So look, I got Disney Plus, and it was so... I watched fucking Ted Lasso was so bad, I tried to commit suicide. Can I sue Disney for that?
Arbitration, I'm sorry.
Did you see season 2? Because the first season, look, it was coronavirus viewing. It was perfect. It was feel good, and then they realized they were cute and sweet, and then the fucking network said cuter, sweeter, and the second season was so fucking unwatchable.
This is a crazy, even for corporate lawyers. I mean, that you have signed Disney Plus, which has nothing to do with the food at a restaurant. It's honestly like, so a woman could be decapitated at Universal Studios, and it goes to arbitration because she has Peacock. Like, right. Makes no sense.
Yeah, because basically we've all signed. There's 3 corporations left in the country, and you're signed. And so when I sign up for Hulu, I've probably also signed up for Budweiser and 8 other companies.
Well, I think it was Karl Rove. Anyway, there is an amazing, we've talked about it years ago, an amazing documentary, and it's called Hot Coffee. And it begins with that McDonald's case.
Oh, right. The woman.
That spawned the giant push on the phrase frivolous lawsuits with George W. Bush. So anyway, what that thing details, go watch it. But it details how they've changed everything, corporations, where you can't get a cell phone unless you agree that if the thing explodes in your ear, you don't go to court, you go to arbitration.
Yeah.
And then I think it was Karl Rove who then ensured he went around and got the judges elected because the corporation can pick the judge. And they get judges who have a 99% siding with the corporation, of course.
Wow.
Anyway, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
It's such an eye-opener, but it's a great documentary.
Well, speaking of documentaries, why don't we get right into entertainment?
Here we go.
I was listening. I have like playlists on my phone that I backed up so that when I fly, like on Spotify, you can download stuff to your library, so you don't need Wi-Fi.
I download The Wire, man.
Yeah.
When I'm on Spirit.
Well, so on Spotify, I found an old band I forgot I listened to. Lord Huron. Have you ever heard of Lord Huron?
Oh, of course.
Oh, my God. So fucking good.
Yeah.
So anyway, just quick shout out to Lord Huron. And then also, I'm watching a show called Mr. In Between, which is just a good, solid hitman movie out of Australia about a guy who's a hitman but also has a daughter. I won't spoil it, but it's just really, really good TV.
Good. I'm so excited. I'm about to start season. I'm slow doing it, but season 4, which they say is the pinnacle of television, season 4 of The Wire.
Oh yeah.
On my feed, all of a sudden, I love season 3. On my feed, all of a sudden, Bryan Cranston was being interviewed, and he was talking about Breaking Bad. I thought this was fascinating. He goes, you have to understand, we were sort of like the viewers. We'd get handed our script for the table read each week, and we're reading it, and that's where we would learn about the twists and plot turns that were happening. And he goes, so all of a sudden, I'm handed this thing where Jesse's girlfriend dies, and he's accusing me of poisoning her, and I get right in his face. And no, he goes, and I aim the gun right in his face and get in his face, and I'm like, you think I could pull this trigger? You think I could do this right now? That's what you're saying and he goes, and I fucking let him have it. And he goes, and then the next week I learn I did poison her. And he goes, but what few people know is I am fully in his face screaming at him because I cannot believe you would think I did it.
Yeah,
then it turns out I did it.
That's so great. I tell you, Bryan Cranston is a great interview. I have to say, if I could have anybody on my podcast, he'd be top 3. I saw him once on a panel get asked a stupid question from an audience member, and he said, yeah, well, I had sex with your mother.
I saw that.
It was great.
All right, we're going to make America Florida?
Let's make America Florida.
Here we go. This Florida man speeding from deputies in stolen car gets trapped in tennis court fence on Holmes Beach. It's perfectly Florida. A 24-year-old man was arrested, accused of stealing a vehicle, leaving the scene of a hit and run, failing to stop for law enforcement, crashing his vehicle into a fence, and also faces charges of battery on a person 65 or older and operating a motor vehicle without a valid license. And it all began when the driver was going 80 miles an hour in a 15-mile-an-hour zone.
I'm just surprised a guy with this makeup has a car that goes 80 miles an hour. That's shocking to me. This guy, he is to Florida men. He is a shining. He is to all Florida men what Liberace was to Vegas. He just checks all the boxes. It's like he's been listening to our podcast, and the way people get competitive about sending in their comic captions, he's competitive about being Florida man this week.
And while reading it, I'm like, please be the tennis court at the Villages. Please be the tennis court at the Villages. Please tell me he was going 80 in the Villages. It has to be.
What about Texas?
Here we go. This is a perfect story. Make Texas, Florida. I mean, Make Texas, Florida could not be a more perfect category. Kidnapped rideshare driver forced to take man from Texas to Florida. Miguel Hernandez, 23, requested that a rideshare service pick him up at a closed gas station near Arlington, Texas. At the pickup site, Hernandez pulled out a gun, and the victim heard a round being chambered in the firearm. Hernandez then ordered the victim to drive to Florida through multiple states. Hernandez also noticed along the way that the driver had a 9mm gun in the vehicle, which Hernandez took. Hernandez and the driver arrived in Florida Saturday night, and on Sunday, which they leave out, what happened Saturday night?
You also left out the passenger's name, which is Pastran Hernandez, who was kidnapped by Miguel Hernandez.
Oh, God, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, it is. These are two Hernandezes?
Yep.
Oh, this has to be a screenplay. Hernandez and the driver, Hernandez, arrived in Florida on Saturday night, and on Sunday they drove to Miami Beach, where Hernandez, I don't know which one, saw a potential second victim. Hernandez ordered the driver to go to a store on Monday to buy supplies for a second kidnapping for ransom.
He's on a
While
roll.
at the store, the driver escaped from Hernandez, who was later arrested and found with a bag with a loaded gun in it. And the drive from Arlington all the way there was more than 1,300 miles. Can I give 6 stars to the driver?
Yes.
He deserves it.
Yes. And what do you tip a guy who you're not paying? You got to give him a little extra just for gas. And also, like, at a certain point, do you break the awkward silence with some small talk? Like, can you drive for 1,300 miles with just a cocked gun in silence? Or do you go, so, married? And also, good luck. 2 guys named Hernandez. Good luck getting the Miami police to jump on this case. This goes to the bottom of the pile.
Other than the gun, do you got any snacks up there or water? Anything? No?
Because I'm starving. We've been driving for 26 hours. All right,
so
let's
ridiculous.
do...
And then also, imagine fighting, not falling asleep the whole time. That's so crazy. Are we going down to this day in history?
Let's do this day in history.
You got it.
Oh, wait, no, first I want to do one international story.
Oh, international. Okay. Back to it. Here we go.
Renowned British-born crocodile expert Adam Britton was sentenced Thursday to more than 10 years in jail in Australia over dozens of cases of sexually abusing dogs.
Oh.
Britton, who worked with outlets like the BBC and National Geographic, this guy was a big deal. He pleaded guilty to 56 charges of bestiality and animal cruelty. Now, are those two things sometimes contradictory? Can they coexist?
So.
They always coexist, right?
Well, from what I gather, the bestiality, all those laws are not to protect the animals. They're to protect us.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Yeah, that would make sense. And so then the Chief Justice warned the court that the details of the crimes were so grotesque that when they were read aloud, they could cause nervous shock.
What?
As they were read out, some people rushed out of the room. Others watched from the gallery, mouthed insults at Britton, or cried. Britton was sadistic as a child to animals, but I had repressed... this is him saying that he was sadistic as a child to animals. I had repressed it. In the last few years, I let it out again, and now I can't stop. I don't want to.
Whoa.
He wrote in a message on an online chat room that was introduced to the court. Which, by the way, can we just make a rule that if a kid is cruel to animals, just force sterilization? Just take all sexuality out of this human being, because shit's going to go wrong.
I think they should allow him to interact only with crocodiles and see how far he gets.
Yes. Yeah, because
Fair
you don't want to
fight.
fuck somebody with that skin. I mean, it's just it's rough. It's green. There's a
Also,
tail in the way.
How do crocodiles mate with the tail situation?
I guess they go belly to belly.
You think they do? Probably in the water, right?
Listeners, write us in at fitzdogradio@gmail.com. Let us know how crocodiles and alligators make love to one another. And by the way, this people were rushing out of the courtroom. They were getting sick, except the back row of the courtroom where there were a bunch of middle-aged dudes in furry costumes with blankets in their laps. It was the hottest ticket in town. There was some websites where people were fighting to get to this case.
Oh, Jesus. All right, here we go.
Now we go to this day in history. Only now.
All right. It's a little dry. I got to tell you in advance, a little dry, but here we go.
Okay.
Greg, the first televised Major League Baseball game happened on this day. Oh, boy, give me the year. In what year?
Well, TV has been around since... My mother said that they didn't have their own TV. There was like one person in the neighborhood that had a TV, and this would have been in the 1950. So if TV was that new...
Do I have to give you a give or take?
Yeah.
Give or take 10 years.
I'm going to say in the range of 1945.
Oh, you douche. You heard me give you 10 years. You were so off. But it was 1939. And it was Cincinnati Reds at the Brooklyn Dodgers at Ebbets Field.
Huh.
I wonder, I'm sure it was a day game, right? I wonder when the first lights.
Oh, interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
I remember the first night game at Wrigley Field. I do know that. Okay, Greg, remember the preppy murder that stunned New York?
Yes.
Give or take 3 years.
What was that?
What
kid's
year?
name?
I can almost remember his name. It wasn't Charles. The preppy murderer.
I
in New
remember
York.
because wait, how many years?
3.
I'm gonna guess it was very near me graduating high school. I'm trying to remember if it was before I graduated high school in '84. I'm gonna say this happened in. I'll just say '84 because it was either right before or right after.
Oh, you got it in the 3-year window. 1986.
Ah, yes.
And it was at Dorian's Red Hand. That was the bar on the Upper East Side.
That's
where
right.
where all the prep school kids would go.
Yep.
Last week we did the 19th Amendment. That's still in here.
And
okay,
women are still voting.
Give or take 3 years. The Grease movie soundtrack earned its second #1 hit.
The Grease movie. Grease came out in. All right, how many years?
I forgot what I just said, but I'm going to give you 3 years, which a listener pointed out. It's not a 6-year window. That's a 7-year window. I'm giving you 3 plus or minus 3 years.
I think Grease came out. John Travolta was young. Olivia Newton-John was relevant. I'm going to say that was 70s. I'm going to go 1975.
God, you don't know what 40% of 12 is, but you're nailing this. 3 years. I gave you 1978.
Wow. Right on the cusp. Right on the bubble.
Right on the damn cusp. All right, let me see if I could find another one with a different. Let's see about this date. Oops, hold on. Here we go. Let's find a good one. Krakatoa explodes. You're never going to get that one. Transgender athlete Renee Richards barred from the U.S. Open. That was in 76. By the way, Krakatoa was... When was Krakatoa? Oh, yeah.
What's Krakatoa?
1883. You wouldn't have gotten that one. All right, hold on. Okay. Give or take 4 years. NFL star Michael Vick pleads guilty to dog fighting case?
I'm going to say 98.
98. No. 2007.
Yeah.
Here, I'm going to give you one because you've read the book. Last one. Here it goes. Lyndon B. Johnson is born this week in what year? Give or take 7 years.
Lyndon Johnson was in the Senate.
You've read like 2 books about him, I think.
3.
Give or take 1 book. How many books have you read?
All right. Lyndon Johnson was president 64. He was probably 44. No, he was old. He was probably 60. So he was born in 1910.
Look at you. What did I say? It doesn't even matter what I said. It was under 1908.
Nice.
Going out on a high note. Look at you.
High note. I started on a high note. It's a high note the whole time. I only missed one.
You're good at numbers. Everyone knows that. All right, moving on. I think we're going to letters to the editor.
Okay, we got something. Andy from San Diego said, as a loyal listener of every episode since day one, minus the Gibbons one, yeesh. And just finished the last one. I have to think all of your listeners had to be shocked Biden was considered as having a debate so bad he had to drop out of the race. After all these years of listening to you two, I am so used to meandering, unconnected thoughts and blatant memory lapses that I didn't even notice anything was off with Biden.
Solid point.
All right, I'll give you that. You guys were talking about the Peter Thiel Christmas party that we went to. Did you notice the juggling tiki torches were from the Charlottesville collection? Denman had to be jealous he wasn't invited. We missed a low-hanging fruit joke right there. That would have been a good one.
Nice. Solid work, Andy.
Merchandise, don't forget, the koozie is still available. We've got about a quarter of a bag left in Michael's dining room, and we're willing to send those off. And then we're settling up, pal. Yeah, let's settle up. And you got to pay for this fucking stand-up special I just shot.
No one said this, but I think it's tax-free. That's how I'm going to treat it. Obituaries.
And that's all, folks.
Here we go. Well, this week, Phil Donahue passed away. And I think most of our listeners, are of the age where they know him and how sort of instrumental he was. But they said unpretentious U.S. talk show host whose popularity was built on addressing women's issues and also involving the audience. Before there was Jerry Springer, there was Phil Donahue. Donahue died at 88, and he took the talk show format into the audience, a tactic that paved the way for a small herd of daytime programs. As Oprah Winfrey said in 2018, if it weren't for Phil Donahue, there would never have been an Oprah show. And I thought this was interesting. I just want to read this. He came back in July 2002 on the cable and satellite news channel MSNBC. Although he was the channel's top-rated show, he could not compete with Fox News, and he had another problem. He was one of the few prominent news people opposed to the Iraq War.
Wow.
An internal memo revealed that Donahue was considered, quote, a difficult public face for NBC in a time of war.
You mean because they're owned by General Electric, which is the number one weapons manufacturer in the country?
Donahue claimed that General Electric was who's a leading war contractor, required that we have 2 conservative guests for every liberal, and they counted Phil as 2 liberals.
Oh, my God. That's hilarious. That's so funny that I pointed at General Electric. Yeah. NBC I've never trusted for that reason. But Phil Donahue was a guy who my father, I think, was very influenced by, or I don't even know if he was influenced by him, but he was often compared to him because Donahue was doing a daytime show where he talked to women about women's issues like menopause, like husbands cheating, like all kinds of women issues that had never been talked about, abortion.
Not getting to the point of a story until about 6 or 7 minutes in.
And my father did a radio show called The Feminine Forum for about 15 years on talk radio in New York, and it was the same thing. It was all listeners calling in, interacting, and so they were often compared to each other. But the best Phil Donahue impression, because nobody does it anymore, but back in the 80s and 90s, even the aughts, Phil Donahue was so big that impression, and
Phil Hartman.
Oh, Phil Hartman, but Daryl Hammond had the best.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah. He used to go down on one knee, and then he'd put the mic in the person's face who was talking, and then he would look down and to the right as they spoke.
Perfect. Well, let's cheer up after that obituary.
Let's cheer up.
Here we go with the funnies.
And so they were going to start off with last week's comic contest. And first of all, thank you. We're back. We took a week off from it. And we got a lot of great submissions. We often tape the show early, so we're going to make a cutoff. It's got to be in by Thursday morning for us to consider it for that week. So try to get them in as soon as you can. Also, helps me out a lot if you write the caption and then you write your name right underneath it. Then I can cut it and paste it right into the doc. Thank you for your cooperation. All right. So this past week's, it's a screaming child on an airplane. There's a man sitting next to the screaming boy, and the man looks a little bit shocked, taken aback. Stewardess is pointing at the boy, and she's talking very sternly. And TJ Totus said, "You had to say it was Boeing, didn't you?"
Mm-hmm.
That's not bad. Ray
Dvorak. I don't know if she'd be saying that. Okay.
Dvorak said, "I see you're having a rough time. Would you like a cold beer and a complimentary Sunday Papers koozie?"
It'll get to you in about 2 months.
Taylor Nelson said, "This is why we recommend shipping children as checked luggage."
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Bray said, "I don't care if it's his first time traveling alone. 2 vodkas every 20 minutes or he's going out that window."
Put him to sleep.
Todd Youngerchig wrote, "Excuse me, ma'am, can I borrow one of your tits?"
All right, he'd have to be talking, but okay.
Ryan Zimmerman said, "It is cheese sauce and pretzel sticks, no pepperoni. Why would you tell him that, you fuckhead?"
Oh.
I like any punchline with fuckhead in it.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Woodhouse, stewardess whispers, "If you want to join the Mile High Club, shut that kid up."
Would have been better if it was shut your father up.
Yeah. John says, the stewardess says, "If he keeps kicking the seat, we will continue shocking him."
Not bad.
All right. That's it.
Oh, boy. Okay. None of them were laugh out loud, I got to say.
I liked borrow one of your tits is good.
Sure. Why don't we go with that one? That was Todd.
Okay. Todd Jorgenchurgen. You win. Congratulations. You just got yourself a koozie. Although I'm a little concerned that Todd Jorgenkurg is in Scandinavia and the shipping is going to put us under for the week.
I also don't know if it's difficult keeping a beer cold in Scandinavia. They may not need a koozie.
True. Good point. Maybe he just wants an honorable mention. Save us the money on shipping.
Okay.
Next week, we got a comic strip from
now,
our
Greg,
good
should
friend.
I mention, we were thinking of, our schedules are so crazy. Are we on next week?
Next week, we are not on. We have to take the week off. I am going to be in Austin recording podcasts for other people. I'm doing Joe Rogan. I'm doing Your Mom's House. I'm doing Kill Tony. I'm doing Shane Gillis's podcast. And then I'm flying to Denver. And so I'm not going to have time. And then you're dropping your daughter off at college.
Northeastern, then I'm going to Nova Scotia. We'll talk about it all when we get back. But these people now have a week and a half to work on this.
Yes, and here's what you're going to work on. It is Bob Eckstein, who's a friend of the show, a friend of mine. I've got some of his artwork hanging on my wall, or I did when I had my office. He's a New Yorker cartoonist who's very talented. He's done many books. And here is a strip or a frame. It's Ronald McDonald in bed under the covers smoking a cigarette, and he is next to... Is that Burger King?
Of course it's the Burger King.
It's the Burger King. And I think Burger King's got a cigarette in his hand, too. So they look like
McDonald's smoking it, yeah. The King has a cigarette in his hand, yes.
Yeah, so they're both under the covers. They're looking straight ahead. And who knows what just happened. That's up to you guys to figure out. Bill Beatty wrote in, no easy way to think of Calvin and Hobbes is like the comic section's Christopher Nolan movies. Some say Chris Nolan makes blockbusters for people who say they don't like blockbusters. Calvin and Hobbes are Sunday funnies for people who say they don't like Sunday funnies.
That is quite a stretch in that's the only way you're defining a Chris Nolan movie. How about Chris Nolan makes movies that are complex and hard to figure out sometimes, but you can figure them out if you put some effort in.
Okay.
I do not view Calvin and Hobbes that way.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Let's start out with a little bit of Hagar the Horrible. Hagar comes in. Helga's in bed. The moon is in the window. And she says, I told you never come home this late at night. And he goes, I forgot. And then he leaves and says, I'll be back in the morning. Ha ha! There you go, Helga.
First woman that ever successfully turned him away from the bed.
That's right. And then I have another one I threw in. They're at the bar. There's a bunch of people sitting at the bar. And then you've got a woman dragging a man out by his hair. And the sign says the management assumes no responsibility for lost items or lost marriages. I just like that they're flipping the switch a little bit, flipping the script. And there's a woman dragging a man out of the bar by the hair.
Yes. Now, how do you read that? That's not her husband that she's angry at? That's like a guy.
It's her husband.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah. Wait,
all right.
What is this, a Calvin and Hobbes for you? You can't get it?
I know, and it's too simple. It's right in front of my face.
Okay, Lockhorns. We got Leroy is on the train. He's got his phone to his ear, but there's a sign behind him on the wall that says no cell phones, and the conductor looks angry, and Leroy says, it's my wife, so I'm not talking. I'm just listening.
Not even listening, really.
And then we've got one where they're setting the table, and Leroy says to Loretta, do the Rolaids go to the left or the right side of the plate?
It's a good one.
And then there's another one where there's a rowing machine, and Loretta says to her friend, I tried to get Leroy to use it, but he mutinied. Tough to hang a punchline on the word mutinied, but I think she kind of gets away with it.
Man overboard.
And then he says to the bartender, if one picture is worth 1,000 words, I have a very picturesque marriage.
Okay, here we go. Number 9. Oh, thank God that John and Odie aren't in this one. Number 9 of the top 10 best Garfields ever. 6 frames. This is a blind read. I have not seen this. Garfield is in frame 1 with a, can I call it a Cheshire smile on?
There you go.
And there's a pink frosted donut. So do I have this right? Does Garfield like donuts? Have I gathered that over my lifetime?
Garfield likes spaghetti and donuts.
You're right about spaghetti.
Loves spaghetti.
Okay. So I guess I read left, right, left, right, left, right. There's 6 panels stacked. 2, 2, 2. Sorry. Then all of a sudden there's an angel donut over his shoulder and it says, don't eat that poor defenseless donut. And then the next frame, the devil donut, I guess you would call it, appears over the other shoulder. Don't listen to him. Chow down, pal. And in the next frame, the angel donut talks again. Do what is right. Do what's in your heart. And then it cuts to a frustrated, sullen-looking Garfield looking down at the frosted donut. And both donuts are just over his shoulders. And then you cut to the last frame, and guess what? It looks like Garfield ate all 3 donuts.
That's not bad. I like that.
No, it's good.
A little dark.
It's good for children.
Yeah, it is. It's, well, cats eat living things. Kids see their cat bring dead birds to the doorstep. They eat mice. Oh, by the way, we got a dead rat under our house. My wife thinks there's a smell that we had once or twice before, and it's always because there's a dead rat under the house.
Well, you handle the dead squirrel so well. Just do the same thing.
Let's close it out with a little Blondie. Dagwood slouched on the chair, reading the newspaper, while his gorgeous wife sits not 12 inches away with her back to him. Mm-hmm. And she's doing a magazine. Looks like she's doing like a Sudoku or something. And she says, I read an article about how the sound of your spouse's voice can have a calming effect. And then she goes, and how it can make your spouse listen more closely because it's so soothing. And in the third frame, Dagwood falls asleep on his wife talking. And she goes, I'll bet if I were talking to his stomach, he'd still be awake. How about... Is she not talking to your cock? When you hear her... By the way, have you ever heard Blondie's voice?
Yeah, and when you do it, it's sexy.
I know. I just can't understand how you fall asleep on this woman. She's talking directly to you. She's talking about connecting in a marriage, male-female relationships, and this guy falls asleep. She could divorce him... And all she has to do is show the last 10 comic strips of their life, and no judge would give her less than the house and all the money.
Rest her case easily.
Yep. Well, listen, Mike, rest your case with Mint Mobile, where you can get yourself 3 months at $15 a month. Just go to mintmobile.com/papers, and also Game Time, $20 off your first purchase. Go to the app, create an account, use code papers, and you're off and running.
Perfecto.
Once again, please check out You Know Me on my YouTube page in 2 days. Download it, comment. I'd love your comments. Put them up there, and thank you for your support in advance.
Love it. Can't wait to see it, man.
All right. Thanks, buddy. I'll see you in a few weeks.
Yeah, good luck out there. Good luck getting some coffee.
Oh, yeah. I need another one.
Or just keep hitting that Starbucks drink behind the machine.
Yep. It's going to be my little spot for it.
I love it. All righty. Take it easy, everybody.
Take it easy.
Bye-byes.
Sunday papers, Greg and Mike.